Hi guys, today I want to show you a simplified version of a 1-4-5 dominant chord progression in A. And usually we'd play A7 to D7 to A7 again, back to D7 to A7, then a turn around of E7, D7, back to A7, and you know, sometimes if you're in a band situation or you've got a bass player and another rhythm guitar player maybe a brass section if you're in that kind of a band, keyboards, you've got a lot going on. So I've simplified those chords. When playing on your own, these chords sound great, but to simplify that, I've taken just two notes of that chord, and they're quite important notes of that chord actually, because we've got a dominant 7. And how a dominant 7 chord is made up is if you take the A major scale of how that dominant 7 chord is made up of is basically of the first note of that scale, the third note of that scale, the fifth note of the scale, and then the flat and seventh note of the scale. So usually you get you play the first, the third, the fifth. Usually, sometimes you play that's the seventh note basically, but we're flattening that to that one. So we're going, and that's what gives a dominant 7 chord its sound, is the first, the third, the fifth and the flattened 7th note of the scale. So in the little introduction, I wasn't playing that entire chord. I was just playing those two notes of it, which are those two. And then from the A7 I went to D7. And instead of playing all those notes, I just played these two notes, which are, so I've gone, that's just a chromatic slide. And then for the turnaround I've gone to E. Instead of playing all those notes, I've just played these two, which is back to D. So that for the E, sorry, we're playing 6th of the D, 7th of the G. That's just chromatic. So there's no root notes being played in this, so we're assuming that if you're in a band situation that the bass player's got that, or the keyboard player or something's got the root notes covered. We're just playing the third and the flat and 7th. So and you can do it with other intervals of the major scale. You can play the fifths, which is just power chords. And all that is just basically the first and the fifth note of the scale into the D, and then eventually to the E. And you can play thirds as well, so that's the root note and the third. basically just the first and the third of the scale. You can play the, what else can you play? You can play the slightly more complicated. You can play the root, the third and the flattened seventh. So you can play this to this. So we're playing that chord still, but rather than playing all those notes, we're just playing, which is that one. So that's the root, the flattened seventh and the third. And here we're muting that string, which you should always try and do if you can. If you're not using a string, mute it with this hand. And then we're going to move to this shape, which is the root, the third, and the seventh, which is basically the root, the third, and the flat seventh. So that's going to be 5, 5, 4, 5. Back to that. For the turnaround, just going to go to E, which is just going to be 7, 6, 7. Again, that's another way of simplifying that entire. It sounds quite muddy, that, especially on this guitar. Sometimes I like to play this way. This is another Hendrix thing to do. You can play the A7 like that. You can also play that thumb over the top, but I'm just playing there. Looks like a D, you know, a D shape, but it's we're going to go 5th of the D, 6th of the G, 5th of the B, and it's still part of that chord. It's just that. And if you want, you can hook that over to get that low E string at the 5th. Finally, I want to kind of embellish it to further on dominant chords. We're going to do this one. So that's basically an A13. So all we're doing there is we're playing our A7 and then putting that finger there. That's going to be 7th fret of the B. So just a normal A7 chord as we've been playing, but with that one there. Then we're going to do this, which is going to be an D9, which is very similar to that, but instead we're just going to bar that. So we're basically playing 5th of the A, 4th of the D, and then 5th little bar. And then we're going to put that finger there, which is going to make that a dominant 13 chord, so that's a D13. Take it off, it sounds nice and funky, which is James Brown played that, is it Jimmy Nolan played that? So for the E we're doing the same, just playing E9, E13, back to E9. That's a nice ending chord. So I hope that's explained the dominant 1-4-5 chord progression. I've hopefully simplified it for you so you understand where the chords come from and the notes of the chord. And yeah, just have a little play around, and if you've got a looper, put it on a looper and just play. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. Bye.